What's up, all my real life traders? This is Yates with another Life Changer RLT afternoon room every day, 5 Eastern on Zoom. Let's dive in and see the R's being made, traders getting paid, using our market knowledge from RLT to Stock Market College. We're teaching the technical analysis, eliminating fear and market paralysis, enriching lives around the nation where every day is a vacation. When you're doing what you love, following your higher call from above. And without any further ado, let's dive into it, crew. What's going on, team? What is happening today? All right. People are coming in. How's everyone doing on this marvelous Tuesday? Feels like Monday. I've called it Monday about 10 times. What's up, Mike? What's up, Sammy? Debria. What's up, team? So it's another Tech Giant Tuesday. Again, feels like Monday. So it was Monday for me. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did trade a lot yesterday in the trading marathon, so I guess I kind of shouldn't feel that much like a Monday to me since I was doing that. So it is going to be another fun day here in the afternoon room. I will be filling in for Jeremy, who's going to be out for this week, and so I'll be here. Then Matt will be here on Friday as per usual. So let's dive in. What's up, Jack? What's up, Colton? Let's jump in here and just start off taking a look at the SPY and the Qs. So first things first, we can take a look at the SPY here. We did actually gap up and we ran right into that all-time high. So it looks like, I mean, obviously if we move up above that, we could see a bullish move, but I would expect some kind of chop, some kind of retracement here for this week at least. I would kind of hope for us to kind of chop in that area and see what we do. We might kind of come down into this 10 here and possibly all the way down to here and then start chopping around and move higher. So that's kind of what I'm watching for, a little bit of a pullback in the indices. I mean, that was just a perfect gap up into resistance today. So it made sense for us to sell off. So if you took the SPY short there, congratulations on a day trade. That was excellent play. Other than that, yeah, I think we're going to get a little bit of some sideways movement, and the Qs also are not quite as strong right now, and they are being held up by all these moving averages, though. So if we do just trade down into this 100 or the 50, we could certainly be a buying opportunity. If we come down and fill this gap around 322, that would be kind of where I'm looking for it is just somewhat buy around this zone would be excellent for actually buying the Qs. We did, that would be just a nice double bottom right here. And so we could go higher. That was a terrible, is just pretend I delete it as soon as I can, get that off the screen. All right, that never happened. So if we can fill that, that would be great. But we might not. I mean, we could move up in the Qs up to these all-time highs again, somewhere up here. So I think just kind of keep an eye on this level. But if you're playing any tech, I would say put in your limit buys. Don't take a lot of breakouts right here at these levels. Things are a little bit high. Mr. Squiggle is drunk. That is true. Well, I'm trying to use this the Zoom annotation, and it's definitely different than the grading view. So it's taking a little bit of getting used to, but it has more features. So I'm trying to get better at it. So that is the indices for today. Things are looking good. We did get a nice gap up and fade. So watch for bullish moves basically from here and hedge if we do break down some of these levels. So on TTWO, this is actually one that Jeremy was looking at not yesterday, he was looking at last week for a play above this region here for a breakout or possibly a retest. I actually like it if we come back right into this 178 or so level. That would be nice. You could have your stop around 169. That's a decent sized stop, around a $10 stop. So you might be in that one a little while, a couple, obviously by this price action, a couple months, but that could be a nice play. This one is holding up. It's above the 200. It's right now, we closed below the 100, but you do have the 10, the 50, all these moving averages. And then also if we zoom out to a weekly, we also have the 10 and the 20 holding us up, and the 50 would be right down here onto your 171. If you had your stop down here, it still would be held up by that. So looks like a nice double bottom from the bullish side. Obviously, we could, if we break this down, it won't be super strong. We could see these 150 levels if we do really break down. But I'm not looking for that. I will take some stabs at these bullish trades before that happens and get stopped out of some things. But this is a huge weekly candle. Obviously, if we retest some of that back into this 175, also could be a pretty good entry. So just watching TTWO, I think it could set up nice here in the next couple of days. I'm not sure. Probably this week, I would say, if it trades down into this area, or else it could set up again for that breakout above the 188 region. So keep your eye on TTWO. Here is DraftKings. So DraftKings, on the other hand, is actually below this 200. So we're below the 200 on DraftKings. We ran up, we touched it just barely, and then we did get rejected off of the 200. So we really need to regain that level for this one to get back on a more bullish path. We do have some really good support in this 42 level. So I think it will hold up. It did bounce where we needed it to bounce. And if you look at it on the weekly as well, it's putting in some decent candles, a little bit of increasing volume on that last week's candle. So if you played this hammer on the weekly, you are up as of right now. So we will see. I think it should retest somewhat back down into this 43 region at some point. I'm not sure when that happens, but I would be looking for that for some kind of entry, is to get in back down around 45 to 43, somewhere in there. But it certainly doesn't have to. We could just kind of keep moving higher, but we did have this big sell off. So that was a decent sized sell off the last. There is a red candle. I was thinking that's almost 10 bearish days in a row. We did sneak in a little bull candle right here. It doesn't look too bullish to me, but we did sneak in. If we make it bigger, there we go. Right after that hammer. So a lot of bearish days in a row. It would make sense that we had this retest into the 200. Could be played on a bearish play as well for a breakdown or your stop above this 200. So just kind of watch DKNG either way. If you are in that one, grab some protection up here so that if we do trade down, you are protected on your longer shares. All right, let's look at TWLO, TWLO. TWLO again has reclaimed that 200. It's above the 20, it's above the 10. And so this one is one of the tech stocks that we could play a little bit of retest almost into the area we're at now. If you bought this support at 320, that could be good for a move back into 362. Honestly, a lot of these names are going to have a lot of overhead resistance. If they have reclaimed some of these moving averages, they will have some resistance below. So realistically, what does that mean? Probably a lot of chop throughout the next couple of months. It would make sense to me that we do just kind of move sideways and chop at least until kind of this next earnings season coming in July and August for a lot of these things. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of gains to be had during those times. You're just going to have to be a little bit quicker with those gains and have your be a little more patient on your entries, trying to buy a little lower and get out earlier that way because you bought lower. So just something to watch. TWLO looks decent though. INTC, if you bought it off of this 200 moving average, you are looking like a hero right now. You had 2 days where it bounced off of that. Looks really nice. We did move up. We had a nice double bottom right here, move up. So if we do retest somewhere into this region here, I would say that is kind of your buying area. So we did have this double bottom and we are moving up. If we do something like that, I think that could be pretty good. So just watch INTC. We do have this huge gap right here to fill. So it should fill at some point. But because we have that giant gap, I think this one's going to have, there's so much resistance overhead. It's going to take some time. Once we do get here, this would definitely be a target up into this area. So if you do take a move of your entries here, stop here, that's a nice target up into there. So that could certainly be a nice play for whoever requested Intel. Keep your eyes on that one. It could set up nicely here. All right, let's look at Zillow. So Zillow didn't have the bounce that some of these stocks that we did just look at have had. We obviously did bounce, but just not quite as much. We didn't regain this 200 again. We're still below it. We didn't even bounce off of it. This was one that Jeremy was talking about shorting. I'm not sure if he's still in that short or if he did exit at some point and got trailed out of that. I don't actually know the answer to that one. So if he is, it's still looking just like a nice retest of this. So if you're not in and you want to get in, you could set up something like that. If we get an inside bearish bullish candle tomorrow, you could get in on the breakdown of that. However, you will have support in this region, so you just be taking some profits there. And if we do break down, I think it's going to be kind of indice. It's going to be sort of indice dependent as well. So that I can, it's going to be a little bit indice dependent. So that if you're watching Zillow and it doesn't break down, then I think you would want to see what the Qs and everything are doing. All right, so let's see. That should be better if we got the screen. Yeah, MAXR, we can definitely have that. Perfect. Earnings today for Zillow after the close. So they already did have earnings and it didn't move at all. Earnings today for Zillow after the close. Yeah, I mean, I never trust TradingView, so that certainly could be off. But it doesn't, not showing me that I do have those, so I'm not sure. If so, honestly, no movement. No earnings to be reported. So August 3rd. Okay, so yeah, they are back. Well, they're right here. So we got a little while till earnings on those. So you'd be fine taking that short breakdown. So, all right, perfect. Thanks, Colton, for that date. All right, CRM. CRM actually had some nice strength today. Some of the stocks were selling off more. We did have some buying right off of this 200. So we had this great gap and go. Robert Falco added 10% to his position off of the 200. That's pretty much the place to buy, especially if you were watching. If you were watching this one and you wanted to get in and you weren't in over this earnings, this would have been a good place to start your entries. You could have had a couple of pyramids kind of in this region, and you could have had your stop or your protection down here to try to get in. As we can see, this thing is making lower highs, so hopefully we can actually just keep breaking out of this thing and move up into the 270 range after a little while. So that one's looking really good. I do actually really like that hammer today. I wouldn't necessarily play the breakout of this hammer right here, but it is a really good sign of relative strength that that it is bouncing off this 200, is moving up. We're getting some buying. Edward says, Falco, you think I should add to my call at the gap fill? So I think this thing could absolutely come down into this 220 region at some point. So that would kind of be my my thoughts on it. We could certainly, I mean, basically, so if we do zoom out too, that's one thing I've been looking at on this. We did have, we're creating a nice hammer here, but so we have 3 big candles in a row. We have big volume on this one from our earnings. It would make sense to me for us to retrace this some. So we could even just keep this flag going. So I would rather be in shares on this. I do have a 250 call for 2021 that I'm in, and I'm selling calls against that. But I'm not actually going to add any more on that. I would just be adding shares on CRM at this point, just because we are in such a big flag pattern. I mean, we really need to break out of this thing for us to really start moving. Although we do have relative strength at short term, I would stay in kind of some shares for the longer term if you're looking at that one. But looks good on CRM. Great ad by Falco. If anyone else wants to get in, you could see if we retest that area yet again, and then again this 229 area, and then probably somewhere around this 220 area. Dr. Falco, yes, sorry, I didn't use his correct title. Yes. All right, MU. Let's see. MU is it's actually, so I know MU is the one that kind of looked like death and looked like it was kind of going straight to zero, but it did bounce. We did have this lower low, nice candle with volume come in. We did trap anybody who had their stop right here, and we have just moved higher ever since. We are running directly into the 100 simple moving average. So this one probably should chill and move sideways here a little bit. So basically same thing, kind of limit buys on this one down to here with your stops down in that 76 area. If we do break this candle, if we do break this area, I do think it will come into the 70, 87 price point. I haven't looked at this one on the volume on this one on my trend spider, but I imagine there's some volume shelf right here, and then obviously we have a huge gap right there. So definitely watch for this one to buy in this area, and then keep your stops around that 75 area because you don't want to be in as it goes to 70. So MU looks decent. It held up, and it doesn't look as scary as it did a mere 20 days ago. All right, snow. Snow is another one. Snow did look kind of like death back on the 13th of May. We broke this low, and we were just headed straight down. We did break the all-time low on an IPO. We broke the IPO low several times back over here. We held up. So possibly this thing could start to move higher. I didn't actually read their earnings. Obviously, it looks like they were decent. They did gap down just ever so slightly and moved up higher. We've had 2 inside days since then. So we could be, if this moving average wasn't here, we could set up something that looked some kind of breakout above here and play like that. However, with that moving average, I would probably not want to do that. So I think I would just wait on this one. Again, try to buy it maybe around this 227 area and have your stop below. So with this market, since we're in so much chop, I'm not taking really any breakouts on swing trades, just because I'm wanting to buy as low as I can, and then I essentially could have a target where that entry is. So if I don't get filled down here, well, I don't get filled down there. It's not a big deal to me. I just am in less trades. So just being patient during this choppiness of the market is going to be a big help in your P&L. See what happens, see what some of these things do, see if we recover, or if we do start to make another lower low on some of these names that are looking a little bit rough. So I think snow overall, I know they have a huge price of sales and they're pretty high valuation, but I think overall it's a decent company, so they should at some point start to move up here. But could it be 6, 7, 8, 9 months? Absolutely. So definitely be careful with any kind of leaps or anything like that. So Lowe's. So Lowe's is another one. I believe Falco was saying last Thursday, buy the dip. We are dipping. This one is in a nice bullish trend. If we can get down to this area, this 182 area, that would be a nice buy as well. We do have a kind of a head and shoulders-y pattern here. We did keep making higher highs though, so it's not super alarming. We do still, we have this big support right down here along with the 100. So that's where I like lows. Do I think it actually gets down to there? I'm not really sure. I kind of don't think it will. Down to 179 would be where I'd be looking. Let's take a look at it on the monthly chart. 179. It certainly could get down there. That's where I will be having alerts on lows to see if we can get that. I think we would need we need SPY and some of these other companies to sell off as well in order to get that. And so also around this 186 area would be a good buying point. We're basically retesting this little hammer that we put in. So could we move higher from right here? Absolutely could. But we had such a big run up from this March low. Let's see, how big was that run up? We moved 43% since March lows. I think this thing just needs to chill out a little bit, needs to move sideways. The fibs on this, if we came down right into this, that'd be a 50% retracement. So that right at that 82, 85 level is kind of the level that looks really good to me. Lots of things holding it up there. So That's where I'll be watching to get into lows. Other than that, I'm just being patient on it. So I'm going to bulletproof spread for 180. What time frame are you looking at on that for Chris? You're looking at June. I think you'd probably be fine in June, 1 month out. Yeah, I mean that we could, if we get another selling day tomorrow, that could be the time to get into that. Honestly, I mean, basically all the analysis I just went over could definitely get close if we do coming down into here, but you do have that 100 holding it up. And that is going to be moving up here. So in a month out, it'd probably be around like 185 or so. So yeah, I do like that. This is a strong bullish trend. If you look out on the weekly, it is nice and bullish for, well, a long time. So we've just been moving up. Obviously, we had some huge growth start around 2012, but it is what you want to see in a bull trend. There's no bear trend on this one at all to be seen. So yeah, I like that. Upwork. Let's take a look at Upwork. We have Upwork. There's my pyramid on it. I do have a 50. What was it? I do have a 50 covered call on this one, which I could get called away. I'll be profitable on that. I'm not too worried about being called away at 50. I had some protected puts around here. I sold those. Similar position to what Jeremy was in. I had a pyramid kind of all throughout this big candle. I think I got filled on 3 of my 4 tiers. And then I had a leap tier down here that never got filled. So this is another one that it reclaimed all its averages really well. It actually has really good relative strength in the market. We never even hit this 200. We gapped down on this day and we just ran up. So this one does look pretty strong. I would expect some kind of retest if you're buying it, looking for like maybe in the 43 to 45 region to look to get back into a little bit. If I do get called away at 50, I will probably just sell some puts on this one to get back into some shares if we do get a little bit of a sell-off. So that will kind of be my plan. Those are the regular June expirations for those 50s. So yeah, I mean, we're coming into pretty close to those, and I'm fine getting called away. There's definitely some resistance here, and if this thing just runs to the moon, I won't be in it. So that's fine with me. I'll gotten out for a decent gain. All right, so that's Upwork. Buy the dip. Apple. So if you missed the chance to buy Apple on May 12th and on May 19th, you kind of got another one today. It bounced off a couple pennies above. What's up, Hector? So it bounced off just above. So I think we might come back down into that to give you another opportunity. It has not hit that 100 since COVID. So that is definitely a good spot to buy. Look what it did after COVID. I'm not saying it's going to do that again. That's kind of the only data we have. The last time it did that before then was back here in July 29. We did actually break down for about a month. We were hanging out below it, and then we did bounce higher. So that's kind of the last day we've had since this big bull run that started in 2019 for a wave, probably 5. So let's see if we do bounce off that 100 here. I think Dr. Falco bought a little bit here. He set off the 100, just a couple of shares. So he might have some buy limits in here again on Apple, just to kind of keep, it worked once, so possibly it will just keep working off of there. So that's kind of what it is the 200. Sorry, did I say 100? Yes, it is the 200 off the 200 moving average. So yes, so just looking to buy off this red line. Hector got himself a leap off that line. So awesome job, Hector. What's your expiration on that? 2023 January? That's probably when I'd be buying something around here. I think that looks good though. Those are looking nice. Jan 2022. Technically, that is no longer a leap. That is only 6 months or so away. So you got yourself a longer term option. Either way, I think it looks good. So I think, yeah, I think Apple obviously be bullish. It's Apple by the dip. So June would be a leap. That is correct, Sammy. So if you got the June 2022, that would be a leap, and they do have those on Apple. So The trade desk. The trade desk, I actually did get into some trade desks just the other day. I do like this one on a fundamental basis as well as a technical basis. I know it's in basically just a big giant waterfall of a trend since December of 2020. However, we did get this gap down and we've only been bought up since then, as well as this split announcement, which is a 10-to-1 split, meaning if you buy 10 shares, you'll have 100 on June, is it 17th? Yeah, June 17th. So I do like that. I bought some basically this day off of this hammer. I got into a couple shares, not nearly as many as I probably should have. Just down here, just buying a couple, one or two here and there. They got into more when we broke above this candle. We have this big volume, and so it's looking good. Really no difference buying now or buying after the split. Not really. So we could get a run up into the split. Colton, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So if we do just continue to run on this one, I'll probably just sell it, and then probably it will dip, and then I'll buy it back again. But as far as except if it does run higher, if it just moves directly sideways until it's split, there's literally no difference in buying it now or buying it after the split. No, that is correct. So that's the trade desk. It looks good. I will actually add a couple more shares if we do get down to this 550 area. That's my next pyramid on it. And then my next one is filling this gap at 509. So we'll see if it gets into there. And then if it breaks below here, that'll be my protection on the trade desk. So there is some really good support here. We did end up filling all these gaps. We filled all these gaps. It was getting super, super high. We had a crazy run on the trade desk. So it's good that we're moving sideways a bit. I mean, we almost hit 1,000 on this thing. We're back around 550. So I like this one on a more longer term play. They do make a lot of money, so we can't just say, oh, hopefully they grow enough to make money one day. They are profitable, decent companies. So it's going to make it super liquid. Yeah, Colton say it's going to attract a lot of new buyers. Yeah, I mean, a $50 stock is going to make it so a lot of people they see the stock and they think, oh, it's only $50 a share. So it's much less expensive. Well, it's really not. It's still the same price. It's still the same valuation. It's just you can buy a smaller chunk of the company essentially, which a lot of people won't necessarily. Yeah, more piece of the pie, exactly. And you're just buying a smaller piece, but you can trade it. Options are going to be pretty great on this one too, actually. So if you're buying leaps on this are crazy expensive right now. So this will open up some nice possibilities on this company on a longer term basis. So I like it. Pinterest. I do like. I actually have a little bit of a swing trade set up on it, trying to buy right around 62. I think we do have this big gap here. It is looking a little bit bearish. Could we just pull one of these and we did come up and just trade down and do that and fill some of these gaps? Absolutely, we certainly could. And I think it's gonna, it won't do it by itself. It's not just gonna tank just because it's Pinterest. I think if the rest of these don't work, this also would not work. Where am I stopping on that one? So the entry is right about here, and my stop on this one, I believe, is right about there. I had for a little while on this one, I had another entry right here, and I had my stop here. So it's basically a longer term swing trade plan. But I moved it up and I'm a little more aggressive because I'm in shares of Pinterest. But if you want to get in a few more shares and kind of set up a pyramid thing, I like kind of set up kind of like this, where you have your first entry here, second entry here, your stop here, and you're just playing this kind of on a more longer term basis, hoping it does something like this, creates a bigger double bottom, and then you're out here in November, October, and we're getting possibly back into these all-time highs and selling that position. But so that's a little more of a longer term swing trade. Mine isn't quite like that. So bought an option. Yeah, nice job. Got a call off of 200. Awesome job, Hector. You're just owning those calls. Great job. Great spot to own. If you want to get in that and you haven't, you want to be like Hector, you could buy this dip. I think we do come down into that 200 again. There's lots of support there. Also, I haven't actually noted this yet in this. I did want to talk about it. We have a lot of hammers on the monthly charts right now. So hopefully these hammers hold. If they don't, it won't be great, obviously, but I don't think playing them, I mean, I don't think setting up like a typical hammer, just doing one of these is the best play on this. I think probably we move inside this hammer for a little bit before we break out. And Moon Lambo 2024 120. All right. Remind me, did I call it right? So I think you should possibly. I think I am going to possibly play this one, buying it kind of mid hammer range with stop below. And so if we do a double bottom like that, then I'm in a little better price. But there's a lot of these really good hammers at pretty good areas. Obviously, this one ran up super high, but still, it's a pretty good looking technical setup. So I do like that. And many stocks you'll see look like that. So you can go through tech stocks mostly. You can go through, check your favorite tech stock and see if it has some nice hammers on it and play it however you see appropriate. Obviously, you could play Pinterest with 67.42 entry and play breakout. It's just that you're getting in pretty high. Oftentimes, this is a pretty big hammer. This one doesn't have very much data, but possibly Roku does. Here's a hammer here, kind of like an all-time high. So can we do something like this? Will we do something like this? Possibly. This is kind of the situation I was saying I don't want to happen. So here's a hammer, kind of at all-time highs right here. We did risk break down that, and this is our COVID low right here, obviously. So we did break down somewhat. So buying in there was basically the bottom of your hammer. That would have been a nice entry, and then COVID hit, and everybody got wrecked, and then everyone got unwrecked if you were bullish during this section. So just to say, kind of, if you have a huge hammer, it might retrace some of that wick. Buying in the middle of that wick is possibly a good idea. I will be setting up a few of those. I don't actually know which ones yet. Pinterest is one of them. So, all right. So Roku is looking good. It has a giant hammer on it. It's the daily. It again is above the 200. The 100 is above it. So looking really similar to a lot of the stocks we've looked at today. I had a covered call expiring at 350 last Friday, so got out of that on Friday because I thought we got out of that first small win, 33% win or so. Because I thought we might close above that, but looks like we're just gonna move sideways here for a little bit. Nice bounce off this 10. Do we retrace more on this one? I kind of hope so. I would like to buy some more shares as we go a little bit lower, but we certainly don't have to. This one, that bounce off the 200 was really nice, and I think we could move sideways and higher on this very easily. We'll just have to break through some of these areas at 360 and 375. So if you're playing Roku, just buy the dips. Obviously, when you're just pulling it up and looking at this setup, could you set up some kind of breakout trade above these and would have your stop there? Yes. However, in this market, obviously, it's going to be advantageous for you not to. You could just buy the dip if it does break out of here. So just to fairly similar analysis on a lot of these because they are just up sideways. Yeah, chop suey. It's going to be a little bit of choppy, but some of these really could be choppy up. So that's why if you're setting up some limits, doing a limit buy, doing tiered limit buys, like if you do 3 limit buys and have a stop down here, and you put like a third of an R on these, you can certainly do setups like that. And so you're just in things longer. You're basically in it for the summer. If it's stocks you like, kind of a pyramid / swing trade plan is definitely a possibility to kind of ride out some of this chop. It's kind of that, or you get in and out of things a little bit quicker. Those are kind of 2 good options to play some choppiness. So GOG, Noel. This one is looking like this SPY, it's looking like the Qs, it's kind of holding up the Qs. It's at an all-time high. So do we break out of here? I wouldn't expect it necessarily. However, if we do, it could be a retestable buy. So I would look to buy this one a little bit lower. I mean, honestly, it's Google. Will it keep going higher over time? Yes. We're just so up there for me. If you look at this thing on a weekly chart, it's just basically straight up, which is great if you're in. Honestly, buying this thing on the COVID low off this weekly 200 would have been amazing. I definitely did not do that. It has just gone directly straight up since then. It's gone up a good 135% on $1,000 stock, and like a is Google $1 trillion company? Yeah. So they could see a little bit of a pullback, hopefully at some point, but they could not. They could just keep steady eddying higher for the foreseeable little bit of a future. So buy whatever retest you get on Google. I think it is going to be a viable dip on this thing. So we do have some gaps to fill down here. So if we do pull back at some point, back to where we were on just April 1st, not too long ago, I think that could be a nice buy. So watch that one. Looks good, looks bullish. It is one of those bullish trends that you can just buy dips on instead of trying to call bottoms like I am on the trade desk. All right, Facebook. Facebook, I don't know, just what I said for Google, but it's Facebook. It looks good. It's right at all-time highs. It is definitely a little bit different of a chart. We did have this really big gap up. We filled that gap and we've moved higher. So what do we do from here? Do we break back down and get into a channel, or do we break out is the main question. We have kind of started a little bit of a channel here. So if we did channel in the 300 to 330 region, that would make a lot of sense. Just while people are a little bit uncertain, uneasy, and then we eventually break out of there bullish. That's what I would look for. Do we get it? I'm not sure. We could just keep moving higher. If we gap up above this, look to buy that retest for that thing. So Facebook's looking bullish. Facebook, Google, all these are holding up the indices. So BABA, we did have a gap up on BABA and we faded entirely the entire day. So let's actually, can we dive into the 5 minutes? So we gapped up and just complete fade off all day long. We did have this nice hammer. We bounced and then we just broke down this hammer. So if you took this breakdown as hammer candle, you could make that for a nice R win. Or if you did take the retest of this bullish candle, you might have gotten filled at 50% right up here for a nice day trade fade opportunity. If you look at the daily chart, you do have some bit of a trend line holding up here. I think we for sure come back down into this 20, and then we see what we do. Honestly, we see a similar pattern right here, and we did just continue lower. We see a similar pattern right here, and we did continue lower. So this thing has been severely beat up. Every time we gap up, we just get wrecked lower. They do not hold. So be careful with BABA if it loves to fill gaps. Yeah, it likes to fill them and then continue directly straight down into lower digits is what it's been doing as of late. But it will bottom at some point. Is this the bottoming pattern with that gap up? I don't know. This is probably some news event. I know a couple of you guys were talking about that in Slack and speculating what it was, and there was a few different answers. But we've made a lot of lower highs on this one, so we really need to break out, kind of reclaim this 250 area for this one to start moving higher and looking bullish again. So yeah, Baba, just be patient. It certainly could it just continue on down and do what it did last time and just kind of move on down like this? Absolutely could. So that is exactly what we did right here. So we did get that exact pattern. We could probably put the bars on it and it wouldn't be too much different. If we do go out and let's see, clear, look at the weekly on this thing, we have a ways to the 200 and some other supports in here. We are at a decent support on the weekly. So this region right there, that's not a very straight line. It is pretty good support. We did break out, we did retest. So could this be the bottom? We just bottom for a little while and then we move higher. Absolutely. BABA is one that is news driven. A lot of the time we get lots of markets. We get lots of China news. We get lots of things that fundamentally impact BABA. So could it just kind of head straight down and break through the 200? Absolutely. But if we do get some kind of better news, we could get a move higher too. So that's kind of one of the reasons I don't necessarily like trading BABA all that much, is because it is a little bit news driven and China-US relations driven. So I'd rather not be in a big position on something like that. Can you certainly swing trade it? Could you buy a leap or two down here? Absolutely. You could do that around the 200, 203 region. If we do retest that, you definitely could. But all these moving averages, we are below them on the monthly. We are kind of waiting for it to move higher. I mean, there's a decent looking chart here. So are we in a wave 4? Possibly. So we'll just kind of wait and see what happens on BABA. NCLH. So NCLH has just been moving sideways since March. We've just kind of had this. I mean, this has been a real nice channel in this area. So if I was playing NCLH, what I would be doing is trying to buy it as it comes back down into this region and just trying to sell it back up here. Will this one break out eventually? It will. This is kind of a reopening play. People are looking at this saying, hey, we have to have cruise lines again. They are going to be out cruising once we open things up more. So it's a reopening play. And it has just moved steadily upward since the COVID low in March. But we do still have a ways to go until these to its normal prices. So this one could be a nice slow trade up into these previous prices, but I think it'll be exactly that, slow. So if you're getting leaps or something, definitely buy yourself some time. It's not going to be the most bullish run. So that's just my guess. Could we get great news out of it and we gap up horribly right after I say that? Yes, I guess it'd be wonderfully, depending on which way you're looking at it. If you're in a bearish trade, it would be horribly. If you're in a bullish trade, it'd be wonderfully. Kind of how the stock market is always. So there's always two sides of every trade. So yeah, buy this one lower. I know someone was specifically asking about it. If we can fill this gap right here at 30.08, that's a decent spot to buy. And you can have your stop kind of below here somewhere. If that didn't work, just set up your other buy. See if you can get down here in the 26 region. That's kind of what I'd be looking to do. It is just, I mean, this is about as channel-y of a channel as you get. It doesn't get much more channel-y than that on NCLH. So apps did have earnings, and they are up, which is kind of shocking in today's tech earnings market. I do like apps. I'm in a decent amount of apps shares, and so I did actually have a 60 protective puts, and those were pricey because apps has it moves a lot, has pretty high volatility, so those will probably be basically worthless tomorrow. So I'll look to sell calls somewhere up in the 80 region at some point if we can move up. But just the fact they are gapping up, they had decent earnings. They did come out with good guidance. So I'm looking for this one just to keep kind of in this channeling area. I do like that it's gapping up though. It's showing relative strength in a market where like Zoom, I mean, they're coming out with great earnings and just gapping down. They're not getting wrecked or anything. But if you do have that relative strength like CRM, like apps, I do like those names right now. So that is something to kind of keep your eye on. Not a huge gap, obviously. We did have a bullish candle today, barely gapping above it. So we'll see what apps does. This thing can move huge day to day. It can have big 10% moves without a problem day to day. So we'll see what apps does. Hopefully we do get a nice big old lifesaver candle. that would be excellent for apps and app shareholders. And I think it's going to be a little while until we can kind of finally break through and break out of this consolidation, because apps is another one. Like apps on the monthly chart is basically just a straight line directly up. So it definitely has some cooling down to do. It also is putting in some kind of hammer-ish handle and off of this 10, which is a good spot if you're looking to get in longer term positions to start tiptoeing in off this 10 of the monthly, since we had not hit it for a number of months. So we did hit that. We're bouncing. Do we continue to bounce from here? We will see, possibly, but we could easily come down, retest some of these levels again in the 59s, and even in the 50s as well. So I'm just playing if on anything I own shares with. I am selling covered calls. I'm buying puts as it goes lower and as it goes higher, and I'm just hedging these just to ride out the chop and sell premium against them as we move up to lower that average and make a little money off of the shares you own during sideways events. So MAXR, I haven't looked at MAXR in a little while. So MAXR, we did have this big gap down on earnings, and we have not yet closed above this candle. So if we do close above here, that will be above the 50, above the 200, and that will be looking fairly nice for MAXR. Will we do that? It's gonna take a little bit, I think, but if we do, definitely buying a retest of that is gonna look nice. So I do kind of like this price action, this rounding pattern on MAXR. I think right now I probably wouldn't. If I was already in, I would be looking to sell a covered call if we get up into this 200. So if we hit this, I'd probably set a limit at like 34, and I would sell a covered call, possibly if there's premium around 39. I doubt if there'd be much premium. I don't like to sell them super far out around 40. 40 would be great if you could sell it there for a couple weeks, a month or so. That would be nice on MAXR. MAXR actually has their headquarters about 15 minutes from me in this interesting little building. So yeah, MAXR is it's a decent chart on the longer term, but we are just kind of cooling off here. If you go super longer term, it's a little bit less good. So we didn't reclaim, we didn't bail out any of these IPO people who were buying back in 2017 and getting super hyped about MAXR going to the moon, probably literally. And so those people still are having to hold those bags. And will we move back up there at some point? Maybe. We will see. So that's all the stock tickers I have for today. I probably have time for like one or two more. Neo spot. All right, I can get to like three of those. So let's look at Neo. Neo actually moved up nicely today. I did see that, and it's a good move on Neo. Let's see here. It did have a really nice high wave candle right at the 200, and then we just gapped up right above that candle, above the high, and we ran all day. So up 10% on the day, 9.63%. And we're just coming into some resistance now. So on Neo, if you're in, this would be 43 would be a target for me. And if you're not in, definitely be looking for some kind of retest. My next target would be probably around this 45 level somewhere. But Neo did have a nice break below this March 5th hammer. So on this, what day was this? The 13th. So we did get a nice break below that hammer, and we've just been moving higher ever since. So I do like that. I like that. I like that setup. I like that analysis. So I think Neo could. I mean, that's another one. We did just have a gargantuan move higher from like $1 back in. It was like, what is this thing? Like $3 in May of 2020. So a year ago, and it went up to $65. So obviously it needs a little bit of sideways movement. So, all right, Spotify kind of same as a lot of the stocks we looked at. However, I do think it's looking a little bit weaker because we are below both these averages, and we didn't quite fill this gap over here on from June in 2020. So that gap is still open. We could certainly come back down and fill that. It has moved directly sideways for basically an entire year. If you bought Spotify on June, let's see, it's the first. Exactly. Okay. So come back to me on the end of this month. We'll see if it's moved exactly sideways for Spotify for this entire year. Just basically chopping around, talking about a chop fest, really just doing not a whole lot. We have this big bull trap up here with volume, and then just never regained it. Tried to with this hammer candle, and we just broke down ever since. So this one I would be very patient on. If you got in off of this weekly 100, excellent job. If not, probably look to buy as low as you possibly can on that and see what happens with this. So got time for a few more here. Dollar General. So Dollar General on the weekly looking bullish, on the monthly looking bullish, on the daily it did gap down on earnings, and then we did have, well, no, wait, it gapped down before earnings, and then it gapped up on earnings, and we have been retesting this gap. So we have filled this retest gap as of now, and if we do continue to break down on this, I wouldn't really like it. I would have my stops, my protection in place on this to see what happens, but otherwise, it really needs to come back above the 207 region for it to continue its bullish move. We did have this gap down on earnings back in March, and then we just had a crusher move higher of 27%. And so if we do just retest some of that on the fibs, we're looking at probably a 50%, 50% retest now. So this thing could certainly move higher. That is a nice gap. We did retest, so hopefully this thing starts to move higher. However, we are below all these averages, and we'll have to see if that does reclaim that. AMD, Neo moved up with bad news. Probably simply moved. Did it? I didn't. Yeah, I didn't see the news at all. But well, either way, yeah. If I'm looking at the chart, still like it. Production numbers went up. CNBC showed a graphic showing what the numbers went down. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, so they went up on good news. It sounds like. Either way, technical analysis still holds. Try to buy that one a little bit lower and see what it does. So last one, AMD. And then we'll get the stock for tomorrow. AMD is one that we did open not quite above that candle of Friday, and we ran into this 200. This is actually 100. We ran up in 100, and we sold off for the rest of the day. So if you look at this one on a 3-minute chart, have an excellent hammer candle that you could have played bullish right here on the 3-minute chart. Looks great after a gap up. It would have been a retest gap, so that hammer wick is the retest, and then we just moved higher. You would have definitely been out of all of your position by this time if you took that hammer candle, and then we just sold off all day. We did come down. I don't use any of these moving averages when I'm day trading. We did come down back into this area again, which would have been a nice time to buy. Here's a little bit of a morning star reversal. And then over here, we have a nice double bottom that would have also been a nice little buy. So you could have squeaked a little bit of ours out of this double bottom here before we did sell off the rest of the day after this big wick, some big volume coming in there. There is also some big volume coming into this double bottom. So that's looking pretty nice. So AMD definitely has some areas to day trade it today. On a bigger time frame, though, it is moving. Oh, that looks ridiculous. It is moving nice and sideways again, like our pal Spotify. So it bounced where it needed to bounce. Will it come back down into this 78 level before moving higher? I would think so. But it has a kind of a double bottom looking pattern here. That's from not real. So that's kind of a double bottom looking pattern here. Do we retest this next line down at 75 before moving higher? Possibly. There's just so much overhead resistance on this one. I think it's going to be a little bit. I mean, we did have great earnings and just got clobbered for the next couple of weeks. So we could possibly move up and see some bullshit out of AMD here. So that's AMD. All right, so let's see. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Let's add whatever you guys are wanting to look at tomorrow. Thanks, guys. All right, what tickers are we looking at? PLTR, Coin, First Solar, Bumble, Fiverr, JSS, PLL. All right. Excellent. X looking bullish. DOCU. I haven't looked at DOCU today, but it's lots of times not. I am in a little bit of DOCU, unfortunately. All right. Yeah, we have PLTR on the list. So if there's any others that you guys want to see, PTON, we can just send them to me in Slack. Tesla, your favorite monthly hammer. Yeah, JMIA does have a nice hammer. We'll look at that one tomorrow. It's looking a little saucy, so hopefully that one actually works. And then I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you on Thursday. So looks good. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you later, and have a good day.